Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramon, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramon. I'm so thrilled to have you join us today. This podcast is dedicated to exploring the idea of doing business and living life with a purpose, which means serving others and, yes, achieving success. We believe we approach our work and our lives with a servant's heart, we can truly make a difference. We created this show for you because we want everyone to be motivated, inspired, and educated to make an impact in your world. The key word there is your world. Whether you're an entrepreneur, multimillionaire, community leader, or somebody simply want to add daily purpose to your life, this podcast is here to support you. While you listen to my incredible guests, because we're going to talk about money, one of my favorite subjects, think about how you're going to serve today and what impact you'll create with that service. I want to thank my phenomenal partner for my podcast, Pantheon Alliance. Imagine being part of an exclusive community of high-income, successful business owners and entrepreneurs from diverse industries coming together to build events, to share networks, and just grow your business while being thought leaders and experts to change the world. For more information, please reach out to me and I'll get you information on Pantheon Alliance. With that being said, I want to welcome my guest. She's got an unusual name, so I had to make sure I say it. Ahuva, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. I'm so excited to be on this show. And I love your name of your show. It's such a great name because it's so real and so true.
And especially with money. I got a personal question real quick. When I first saw your name, when you booked this, where's Ahuva from? Is it an international name? Where'd it come about?
It's a Hebrew word. Ahuva means beloved.
Oh, beautiful. I love it. I love it.
And my second name means Gittel. So my name means beloved, good one. Gittel means good.
No pressure. No pressure. I'm kidding. So I love financial people on my podcast because servant's heart doesn't happen a lot in finances. You've been in it 20 years. There's a lot of, under table stuff going on, not so much servant heart. What makes you a servant heart and what do you love about it?
Okay, so I'll give some background. From when I was a little girl, I was always a businesswoman. When I was 5 years old, I convinced my kindergarten teacher to buy a wig for my mother, who she had a business. And I did it not for my mother. I did it because I believed it was best for my teacher. If she wanted the best wig, which is like a hairpiece, to get it from my mother because she had the most beautiful wigs. Then by the time I was 10, 11, I had a whole candy business. And first in school, in the neighborhood, in high school, I was cutting hair. And then when I graduated high school, it was natural for me to go into accounting because I was always good at numbers. I was always a businesswoman. When I was the CFO of a large company, I ended up helping family and friends in business. So besides, and I wasn't doing it for money, I was doing to be a servant of God, of helping people. And I saw as time went on, my mother had a business, my husband had a business, friends, anyone who needed help with business, with paperwork, with financials, they would come to ask me for help. And when I go speak to people, I'm really like a problem solver oriented. And when they would speak about their business, about their financial, I would right away like how I could help them, what they could do better. So after 20 years of being in a company and in COVID, I left my company and I thought, what I want to do? I could have gone and be a CFO of a nursing home, of a big corporation. And I decided that if not now, then when? I am going to follow my passion, follow what I care about, what I want, and do what I want is to become a fractional CFO, which is a part-time CFO for different businesses that are not big enough to have a full-time CFO, but to really help them grow and succeed. Because the trend I saw that bothered me to no end is that people were good at what they did. They were good at what they sold or what services they provided, but they weren't good at running the financials. And it really affected the bottom line. So I felt like shaking them up. If you just knew what you were doing financially, you would be doing so much better.
Yeah.
And so that's why I decided, because it's so painful, it's so sad to see people who are working hard to support their families or what, and they really have talent, they'll really just not do well because they have either they don't understand financials or they're not, or they don't have time. Your head can't be in all over. It's like, and it really affected the bottom line. So I do feel I am a servant of God. I'm a servant to help my clients. I get in full-fledged, my heart and soul into my clients' businesses to really help them grow and succeed.
So why fractional instead of a full-time CFO position?
Because this way I could help more businesses and they could get the experience of my over 20 years of my work experience. And of all the other areas of my life that I help people, and they could get it at a more affordable rate. So if they don't need a full-time CFO, which could be 200, 300,000 plus benefit, this is much more financially worth it. It's a very popular way to go to do outsource, to be able to use the expertise without having the whole course. I'm an accountant. It all has to be cost efficient.
So having a CFO full-time, you got tax, payroll tax, all that with a full-time employee. With you, that goes away, but they get the same experience, the same ROI because of your experience.
And exactly. And they get much more, because if they were getting a full-time CFO, not everyone could afford a CFO with over 20 years experience. Could be 300,000 plus benefits, plus taxes, plus workers' comp. If they're not big enough, or depending on the industry, it's not just a dollar amount, but an industry, it's wasting money.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. That's
No.
a bad financial decision. So I get asked this question all the time, Ahuva, is what's the difference between a CPA and a CFO?
Great question. A CPA is an accountant that went through the licensing of certified. CPA stands for Certified Public Accountant. So a CPA is the license, but then what you do with it is you could go into taxes and do like compliance work to the IRS, to your state, or you could go and be a CFO or controller, which is working for a company or fractional. I work for a bunch of companies, but yes, I give in the taxes to the tax accountants and to file the CFO. I'm sorry, to file taxes for the compliance, but I do much more than that. A CFO, a controller of a company does much more. That we look at what's going on in the company strategically, what's working, what's not working, what we could do better, how we can make more money. Tax compliance is for taxes. CFO, controller, is to help the company grow and succeed, not just how much taxes do I have to pay.
Yeah, and a controller is a CFO, just different name, really, correct?
So it depends on the place. Controller controls the money. CFO controls the money, and it's more strategic. It's like forward thinking. Sometimes it's interchangeable, sometimes not. I use it more interchangeable. CFO, I look at the 4 Ps of a business: people, processes, profit, and products, and really take a holistic approach where they're making money, where we're losing money, where we're leaving money on the table, where we're wasting money, what's going on, what we could do. I don't just believe in talk, but action, what we could do to improve things.
I like that. I like the 4 Ps. Marcus Lemonis has a show called The Profit. He talks about those 3 Ps all the time when he walks into a business. I talk about experience. I go to a mechanic, he's been doing it for 3 months. He may still do a good job, but if I go to a mechanic that's been there 15 years, my anxiety is a lot less because he probably knows more than what he's doing. I love about you is your 20 years. What have you learned over the 20 years?
Oh, I learned a ton over 20 years. I learned not everything could you learn just in school. You learn from like businesses, what works, what doesn't work. Also, people skills, it's really important. Team approach. It's not, I don't just look at financial reports. That's what you learn in college. But really, to do well, it is all different types of business, of issues in a business that come up with the financial. Is it the employees? Is it, let's say, construction? There's the AIAs, different. And I learned from all experience in life. For example, construction industry. Besides that, I helped a family member in the real estate firm. In my job as CFO, we built buildings. I knew already about construction. I knew about the real estate. I knew about closing statements. I know how construction works. I have a lawyer. I know from dealing with the legal team of my corporation when we did things legally, like border building or different things, and my own personal experience about the legal. It's like experience is taking all your knowledge, if it's directly having to do with my clients, and taking all the experience that I learned from my job, from my life, from helping people, and also how does it come out in for my clients. And I'll give you an example. I have a construction client, so they have their employees, and there was issues with productivity and about the employees doing the correct work and really clocking in the hours. The same knowledge I took, and I had a legal firm. It's a very different business, but it was ended up, they had similar, one of their issues was similar. There was their blue collar field workers and office staff, and in the legal firm, it was their attorneys that working for them weren't clocking their hours. So then they couldn't bill the client, and he had 5 people working for him when I came in, and he was cutting even. He wasn't making money. He was making more money when he worked himself, because you're paying your attorneys, but if they're not clocking out, then you can't charge your clients. Then what are you doing this?
You're leaving money on the table, like you said earlier. Very, very cool. So over the 20 years, what financial obstacles have you encountered working with companies?
Number 1 is profit margin. Number 2, money leaking out. Money, and one of the biggest ones is they don't even know what's going on financially in their business. They have no clue. They don't know how to read a profit and loss. They don't understand profit margins. They don't know how to price. They don't know the sales target. They have no clue. Cash flow is also a big one. Everyone thinks they know how to do profit margins until they really see it, like they don't realize what's going on.
Yeah, they're charging 100 and making, and putting $1 in their pocket instead of 50. Yeah, and that's pretty rampant in business. And same with what you just said, not knowing their numbers. That happens more often, right?
Oh yeah. It happens all the time. And I see some clients, some business owners I speak to, they're scared to jump, they're scared to invest in financial help. You should know, interesting, Steve, a lot of businesses will be much faster to admit they have operational issues than they have financial issues. But any operational issues, everything hits the bottom line. Everything hits the bank account one way or the other. they're much harder to admit they have financial issues. And it's so sad for me. And I speak to businesses, they're scared to invest. It sounds like so much money, but they look at it as expense, but this is an investment because it's an investment in the future of their business. It's an investment in the financial health of their business, not just spin their wheels. So I speak to clients, let's say on LinkedIn or here and there. And then unfortunately, sometimes I see that they said they're going to get a 9-to-5 job because they closed their business. It's so sad. They had talent, they had hopes and dreams and a family, and they lost out because they didn't know what they're doing financially.
It took one person like you to change that trajectory of their business and their life with a few months of working with you, which is why I like fractionals. Come in 3 months, you make the change and you're still there for them, but they'll hire you when they need you instead of having a CFO full-time, paying $200,000, $250,000 a year. And the bigger companies, I would think it would be better than the medium-sized company. They're making $1 million a year and $250,000 goes right to their CFO. That's not a good profit margin, I would think.
That's a great point, but I wanted to clarify it.
Yeah.
I start off on any job, on any client, I first meet them, I speak to them, I see what's working, what's not working, if I could help them, if they could afford it, if they're like a few $100,000 making, they can't really afford the help, I'm a financial, I won't go into something or charge what I think it doesn't make sense for them or for me. And then after 3 months, it's not just setting things up. It's depending on after 3 months where they're at. If I downsell them, I keep them the same. I ask them if they're happy, they could leave, they could not. But from my experience, it's not just setting things up. It's following through. I usually stay with them as a consultant, so they're not paying the whole salary, usually much more than 3 months, because it's follow up. If I set up, I have a friend who did that for business, but as soon as she left, everything fell apart. And she explained it, but one person, who, not how, the book. One person can't do everything, can't run a business. That was a kitchen business. I also had a kitchen business. My friend, the kitchen business, she set it up. She cleaned it up because number one, you have to clean the books. You have to know or work with the bookkeeper to clean the books. But second of all, you have to keep it up. You have to guide. I set up a construction business and pricing tool. I speak to them weekly. Besides for the other things I do for them, is I go through different projects through the pricing tool. Did we make money? Great. What went well? Did we lose money? What didn't work? Was it employees? Was it the product? Was it the job site? Was it the weather? What went wrong? Was it clarity? Did the employees know what they're supposed to do? Like really, like what went wrong? And after a few months, if they feel they could do it on their own, fine. A lot of times they come back. If they grow from my help and they get a full-time CFO, great. I'm celebrate with them that they grew and they're ready for that. It all depends.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. Appreciate that. So the audience knows, and I didn't know. So thank you. It's great. One thing I get asked too all the time, you mentioned you do funding and increasing revenue. How does funding relate to increasing revenue in a company?
Oh, great point. I love bringing this to attention. People think that sales and revenue is it. Sales and revenues, it's a starting ground, but it all depends on the profit margin. Sales minus direct costs, which is so important. If you have $1 million in sales, but your costs are 900,000, that's a 10% gross profit margin. You are on survival. Revenue, I don't get excited. It's what you take. What's the bottom line? There's gross profit margin, and then there's net profit margin is the gross, which is revenue minus direct costs, direct labor, direct material, and then the overhead, rent, software, administration salary, utilities, and then you get the gross profit margin. And that's my legal client. He was bringing in money, but his cost was almost equal.
What I'm
So-
hearing, this is really complex. And that's where you come in and just make this simple for everybody involved in
Right.
the company. Does the finances, whether it's
Right,
1, 2,
and
3, whatever. Go ahead.
exactly. And I make it much easier for the CEO because he could concentrate on what he does best and I take over the financial. Yes, I believe in communication. I believe that it's to communicate. He has to know what's going on and we have to speak what's working. If he has to raise the prices, I tell him, you have to raise the price. You're not making money on this, or this job you didn't do well. If it's further away from your office and from where you're let's say a field job, and you're not making money, what are you gaining? You have to, so I believe in communication, but I explain it to them. So many of my clients tell me I open their eyes. I open their eyes, how much they're making. I open their eyes, what's working, what not working. I open the eyes, what they're spending. I open the eyes, what a profit and loss, balance sheet, cash flow, financial concepts.
I love this because you're really simplifying it. So anybody listening right now says, knock on the head, like, Ahuva's really nailed me. I got to help with my finances. What's one tip you can give them they can get started with right away?
Know what's going on in your financial of the business. Knowledge is number one. Don't be in denial. Open your eyes to what's really going on in your business.
And the next step would be hire somebody like you, if you don't know, to be educated and fix these problems where money's running through you called it something, I forget what you said.
Fractional CFO?
No, you said money runs down the pipe. You said it
Down the
great.
drain.
Down the drain.
You
Thank
don't
you.
know what you're doing, you hire someone. You invest. It's an investment. It's not an expense. You
I love
invest, you pick up the phone and you call up. You're not alone. Most businesses, if they don't have someone in the financial seat it's going through, don't think you're alone. This is so common. I see this day in and day out. And to go back to the beginning, servant's heart. This is why I'm a servant of God, a servant to help businesses. I'm a servant to help businesses grow and succeed. This is what I do for a living. This is my passion because this is where I saw a huge need.
Yeah, and there is, because millions of companies are starting every year. It's so much easier to start a business so more are growing. How can people support you? How can they reach out and find you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Ahuva Gurin, or on my website. For short, they go on ahuvacfo.com and it'll take them to my website. On my LinkedIn, Ahuva Gurin, AG Financial Services.
It's great to have a unique name because I think stevecfo.com would be taken. So having Ahuva to be rare, somebody has that URL link. So that's pretty cool. I love that.
My website is agfinancialcfo.com, but I decided that it needs something short, sweet, and to the point. Ahuvacfo.com will take to my website.
Beautiful. We're getting to the end here, but I like to ask a fun question to learn a little bit more about you. So you're walking into a restaurant, you've got a table of 4. One of the seats you're going to occupy, sit down to eat. So the 3 empty seats, who would you invite, dead or alive? Why would you invite them? And what food would you order?
Great question. I would take my mother, my father, and my grandmother, and I order chicken because that's no sugar and it's much cheaper than meat. I believe in being cost effective all over. And I'll take my grandmother, who's not alive anymore, but she believed in action. Talk is cheap. In action, when you need to get something done, go down in person. She was strong, independent, assertive, kind, would take off her shirt off her back for someone. My mother, who was the first businesswoman who ran a business my whole life, and I looked up to my father who believed in me when I didn't want to finish my CPA. He said, Ahuva, you start, you finish, you could do it. And he was brilliant. They were all brilliant. So that's who I would take.
Nice background. I love it. That's why you're so successful today. A lot of times it's your growing up that really makes a difference with you.
Yeah.
Ahuva, thank you so much. I've learned so much about finances. I know the audience did. You're kind of making it fun because money
Yes,
cannot be
but it
fun.
is
But
fun.
yeah, you made it
Want to hear
fun.
a
So
good joke before we end?
yeah,
My sister-in-law is a controller like me, and she gave for a real estate holding firm, and she gave a report to another staff member, and the staff member said, washer dryer should not be capitalized. Whoever I repeat the story to, I say, what do you think they meant? So anyone who's in the financial, who understands about financials and accounting and has business like financial says, of course, it should be expense, which you could take as expense, not a capitalized, which you have to do over 5 years. It's a given. But anyone who's like creative mind, who's not in the financial, the mind works different, says it should be lowercase, not capital case. So my sister-in-law said, I know that, but it's not something you usually tell me. Why are you bringing it up? So she said, it should be lowercase, not capital case. I love that little story. It sums up so much for me about different minds work differently. When I see something, I see financial, I see business. If someone's creative mind, they see the world differently. And the way God made the world is we do what we do best, and we outsource. We use a servant of God, a servant of a business, however you want to call it, to what we don't do well. I wouldn't go and try to decorate my house myself. I would hire a decorator. So too, a decorator or anyone, if they're not good at financials, get the financial help. It's faster, it's more effective, it's good all the way. You like this story, Steve?
I love that story. I love it. And you're saving companies, and that's the servant heart mentality. Ahuva, thank you so much. It's been a great show. God bless you. Keep doing what
Thank
you're
you.
doing.
God bless you too. And you're doing a great service by bringing education and awareness out to the world.
Thank you. And don't forget my TV show, Together We Serve, every Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. Gotta get those time zones right. And as always, I want to thank you, Mina Ahuva, thank you for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Well, have a great day now.